Mendelssohn's Spring Song is one of those tunes that's well known even outside the world of classical music. It's often heard as an orchestral arrangement, but it is written for piano solo originally as part of Mendelssohn's lifelong collection of Lieder ohne Worte, songs without words. I did a video on another one of those recently as a good exercise for sound balance in the right hand, and this piece requires the same type of technique, but it's much harder to start with. Because you need to differentiate the dynamic between the melody and these springy arpeggios, and that requires really quick switches between different touches in the hand. But if it's mastered, you can achieve this exquisite character that just transports us to the countryside where we're having a picnic, the kids are playing, the birds are singing, and nature is bursting with spring energy. So much of the identity of this piece comes from these accompaniment arpeggios. They're just kind of soft in the background, and they're just normal chords, triads and sevenths, but they provide so much energy in the way that it's really quick notes, even though they're soft. And they're really hard to play, or it's a big challenge to find this dynamic differentiation between the melody and the accompaniment. And sometimes the arpeggio in the right hand, the end note of that is an accompaniment note only, like the first, but sometimes it merges with the melody. And these are two different touches, so it's just a lot of work to go through and learn every individual place which one it is, because they go on quite fast. Even though they just sound super light and easy, it's not when you play it. Well, when you learn it, it's not, and then in the end, hopefully, you'll get to that place where it feels light and easy as well. But that takes a lot of work. Okay, let's look at the melody, how it's kind of formed in a compositional way. It's just so lovely, these playful chromatic passing notes and then a leap up. It just kind of puts a smile on your face, just that, the iconic part of this piece. So that's kind of 4 bars of an antecedent part of the phrase, and then 4 bars of a consequent, kind of the answer. Because it has the same motif, now not the leap, but still the 16th notes. And it ends on a half cadence on E, that's the dominant, and then that prepares the next statement, which comes in A again, which is a repeat of the same melody. And now the second time we take a new turn here. But we go back to A major again. And harmonically in this piece, and kind of Mendelssohn's music in general, there's 2 things that's worth mentioning and highlighting. And the first thing is just taking harmony in first inversion. So the first chord is A major. It's this root position with A in the bass. Second chord, this is A major but in first inversion, so it's the third of the chord in the bass. This is a B minor chord, that's the 2 second scale degree in A major, it's in first inversion. And then in root position. So already first 4 bars is 2 chords in first inversion. And you can see, we'll see when we go on, there's a lot of those chords. And the second thing is the use of secondary dominants. So it's a slightly more advanced theoretical concept, but we see it when we get the second answer part of the melody, the second time. So this chord, this is an F sharp 7 in first inversion. And that's a secondary dominant that points further on to, it points to B. So it's a B, then it flips to B minor on the way down. and then B points to E, and E is the dominant in A major to A major. So this is like a chain of secondary dominants, F sharp 7 to B 7 to E to A. It's just a suspension, dominant 7 with A in the bass on the first beat resolving. So with these secondary dominants, it's introducing kind of chromatic coloring notes in the music. So without these chromatic alterations, if you only use diatonic chord progressions, it's a much more plain way. It will not sound at all like this music, but something like if we use F sharp minor and B minor. So when you introduce this chromatic coloring, you get brighter colors. That's basically the gist of secondary dominants, and especially in Mendelssohn. Okay, now we go on. Here we get like a secondary idea. And it's just the first melody but inverted. So instead of the chromatic passing notes upward, now we get the chromatic passing note downward. Again, first inversion here. So it's repeated 2 short phrases 2 times, and then we go on. So it's another short phrase of 2 bars that's in a sequence that goes down, and kind of from here on the music is gonna feel much more like it's keeps going all the time and searching for new things, because these phrases that we've had, they're all closed and finished properly with cadences, but now kind of as a contrast to this, it's more momentum building. So from here on we get a really nice descent in the bass that goes fully chromatically. So after, well, here E major, we flip this to E minor with a sequence. And from here you start to see bass. It's just so nice. This is the F sharp 7 again, secondary dominant. And we reach this high point after this bit transitory passage. And it's 4 bars of forte, nice spring energy again, and that counts repeated 2 times, and we get a good close after that. But let's play it with the texture and everything. It's really nice, these bars, that it's a variation that we don't get the arpeggios for a bar. These repeated chords instead. This bar is a little bit more tension. It's an amazing F sharp 7, but with a suspension on the beat. It's a double suspension note. Well, not at the same time, but they're resolving. It's properly following contrapuntal rules. So here we get more of a proper resolution in E major. So we modulated to E major, the dominant, the 5th scale degree in A, kind of middle, halfway through the first section, or a little bit more. I forgot to mention one thing, and it's about pedaling. So you can hear some versions either with pedal or without. And you have these staccato notes on the 8th notes. You might think like, oh, it should be without pedal to get the staccato, and you can do that, and it will be a really like a crisp, energetic interpretation. Something like that. Obviously you need to do more legato with the fingers and kind of change fingers. Like this is certainly possible, but I prefer to play it with pedal to get a more of a round sound going. And that means I don't have to change fingers on the notes all the time. And some of the bars that actually makes it feel much more comfortable, this sequence. Like without pedal, this is much harder. Because you need to change. And it's a really quick change, and I prefer not to do it. Like that's just an added perk of playing with pedal. But the choice of doing pedal is not because it's easier, it's because I like the round sound of it. Okay, so when we got to this E major, here we kind of start a new motion, start over from a soft dynamic, and we get some diminished chords, and the melody is aiming upwards from here. These chords are kind of hard in another way to blend in the sound together. Because like here, I want some of the bass in the pedal, but I can't hold the pedal all the way down because it's too mushy. So it's like a half pedaling technique here. Now second time, the bass gets more active. Crescendo. And we get this really nice culmination. So the melody gets 16th notes again. It's been a long time since it had 16th notes, and it uses them to insist on this note. And it's a new harmonic idea. The bass goes down in thirds. And it's just a very nice place. And the result of that is this mini cadenza, where the melody flies freely for a little time. We had exactly the same kind of structural part in another Lieder ohne Worte that I covered on the channel, Opus 19, number 1 in E major. It's like the same form of the piece with a little melody cadenza in the middle. But this takes us back to the return of the main melody. Gracioso is gracefully and elegant, and I do a ritardando here as well. So it's the same. But this time it's actually a little difference. It's in pianissimo. The first time it's piano, and you don't have to do a big difference, but somehow it feels like the music is a little bit more relaxed here, I feel, because we've had this kind of a long period of these searching melodies. It's trying new things, and then after the cadenza, it kind of falls back to this character of just being in the lovely spring. But it's not for long after the statement of 2 phrases. The second time we get a new turn and a new color. This is a new note. It's a G natural. Normally it's an A, just an A major, but now makes it to A7, like a secondary dominant. That kind of points to this. It's not a D major that would be the perfect cadential move. This is like a B minor first inversion, but it's the A7 is the important chord here. and then turns this again, new thing. So now we get the B7. Is this another secondary dominant, which is more of a proper, because this leads to E, again going to E, the dominant. And it's continuing E7 pointing back to A. Now if we look at the form of the piece and this recapitulation, it's like we've skipped over a lot of material that we had the first time, but instead we kind of jump straight into the second half of the first section. So from here we're on track again, but now we're kind of more in A major before it's in E major. Because we know this material. Also, when it happens both times, it's a nice thing that it increases the frequency of the arpeggios. We get more arpeggios here. We get them on every eighth notes. So it's even more energy for these bars. And then repeated. So the second time is a little bit variation with this diminished chord. I didn't mention it the first time, but it's there too as well. Just a little bit of different nuance in the color. And we resolve down properly to A major. And then we get the same, this kind of diminished. And aiming upward. But now we're in A major, so we're closer to home this second time around. And here, A major again. Now another grazioso, and it's just A and E7 between the tonic and the dominant. And this is just another lovely place, really just playful. Let all the seriousness that we feel in some parts of this, maybe there's some seriousness, that's all gone. This is just playful. And again A major, now the last part of this, like a small coda, just A major, and we get the main melody motive. And as a sequence, just outlining A major. It's a really nice way to finish the piece. And the final flaring up of the spring energy. Leggero is just lightly. It's like a super arpeggio where every part of the long arpeggio is an arpeggio in itself. Thanks for watching Sonata Secrets. The Patreon shoutout goes to B. Nguyen, E. Silberreis, and Y. Garnevsky.